Good morning. Thank you. I'm Karen Whitehouse, and I'm part of this Parsonage 2 task force. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm going to tell you about the task force, what it was commissioned to do, its recommendation, and the next steps. Task force members, most of whom are here this morning. Cal Trevenin was our chair, Polly Monsees, Jay Richardson, Greg Switzer, Eugenie Temler, and Karen Whitehouse. Just to orient you for a second, 160 Cooper, also known as Parsonage 1, that's where Dave Shaw, Stacy, and Ben and Josie live. 169 Cooper, P2, Parsonage 2, where Katrina Foreman, Dan, and Walter live. And also, again, at orientation purposes, see if I can make this little red thing work. Where we're talking about dividing the lot is just to the left of P2. We'll talk more about that. So the charge to the task force, which was commissioned by the Leadership Council in February 2019, was to assess and recommend to the Leadership Council the future of P2, taking into consideration, but not limited to, retaining ownership of the property as a potential residence for an associate or assistant pastor, retaining ownership and renting the property, retaining ownership and developing for outreach purposes, and selling the property. And we're going to go through each one of those briefly. Retaining ownership, previous expectations gathered during the senior pastor search process, pastors preferring to live off campus, changed during the most recent search. The recent process revealed a desire to live on campus. The candidates, including Katrina Foreman, found P2 attractive. Retaining ownership and renting the property during periods of vacancy. To be determined as tax-exempt, parsonages must be occupied by officiating clergy. It's a New Jersey statute. If rented during periods of vacancy, the real estate tax exemption is certainly at risk. Property taxes would be approximately $40,000. Retaining ownership and developing for outreach purposes. Using P2 as a one-family for outreach purposes could retain the property's tax-exempt status. It could, and probably would, face legal zoning hurdles and potential neighborhood scrutiny. Subdividing the property and selling that portion of the property. Survey analysis indicates current favorable zoning provisions which allow a separate lot to be created by subdivision with no need for a variance. Current zoning laws require frontage of 75 feet. In the past, we know that it's been as low as 50 feet or 60 feet or 65 feet. It's now 75 feet. It could change. Once again, we're going to look at a slide of the west, or the lot, 169 Cooper Avenue in the west lot. The property known as P2 or 169 Cooper is 158 feet wide at Cooper Avenue. The west lot would be 75 feet wide, and a curb cut and driveway would be created on the west side of P2. So again, somewhere right in that area. The financial gain is estimated at between $400,000 and $450,000. The cost of approximately $50,000 to $60,000 would include pursuing the subdivision before the Montclair Planning Board, creating a curb cut and a driveway for P2, perhaps building a new garage with doors facing the newly created driveway. The P2 Task Force recommendation: subdivide the property known as P2, sell the newly created west lot to take advantage of current zoning laws which allow subdivision of the lot, take advantage of the current Montclair real estate market, and generate sufficient funds to further the church's mission-related social outreach. We'll talk a little more about that in a second. The basis for this recommendation: if P2 is utilized by an associate or assistant minister, the potential use of the existing house for mission-related activity becomes moot. If consideration were given to utilizing the newly created lot for mission-related activity, there are possible zoning hurdles, neighborhood scrutiny, and the capital cost of creating such a mission-related activity. The west section of 169 Cooper is a valuable, though non-performing asset. It does not advance our mission. The statement of purpose is printed on the inside front cover of today's bulletin. The fourth and fifth bullet points are particularly relevant to this discussion, though the entire statement is pertinent. The Leadership Council and the Task Force used and continue to use these tenets and the basis for discussion and recommendation, not just for this, but for everything we do. They are foundational. The Leadership Council has endorsed the recommendation of the task force to subdivide the property, offer the newly created lot for sale, and bring the recommendation to the congregation for vote. The congregation's responsibility is to become fully informed. Question and answer sessions will be held in the chapel today at 11:30 and on December 3rd at 7 o'clock in the evening. A congregational vote is required. A quorum of 20% of the membership is required at a special congregational meeting on January 12th. And being January, we have a snow date of January 26th. Proceeds from the sale. Should the congregation approve the subdivision and sale of the west side of the lot of 169 Cooper, a task force will be commissioned by the Leadership Council to explore options for mission-related social outreach, use of funds. The congregation will have opportunities for input regarding these options, and the congregation will have the opportunity to vote on the ultimate recommendations from the task force. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Please, please, please join us in the chapel at 11:30.